Would you like to have one weapon in your poker arsenal that helps you double your win rate? It's actually easier than you think. Now, I'm not saying that your hourly rate will explode overnight, but look at this. I have played poker for almost a decade, but in the first few years my win rate would look like this. I was a winning player, but I went through big swings and my hourly rate was just about positive. I have improved many aspects of my game, but it was this one play that helped me break through. So in this video, I will share with you what this play is, how even less advanced players can implement this in their game, and why it is much less risky than most players think. My name is Andreas Wagner, I'm a live low-stakes coach, and I believe that what you're about to hear today will truly increase your win rate at the live low-stakes poker tables. In order to understand what this play is, we have to look at the biggest mistakes live low-stakes players make. They call too much, they don't bluff often enough, and they play their big hands too fast because they're terrified of getting outdrawn. And the play I'm talking about takes advantage of all these things. It punishes the fact that they call too much and takes advantage of them not bluffing enough, while we wouldn't even get to do it if they had a really strong hand, because they would already have raised on an earlier street and we would have folded. So here's an example of this play in action. We play in a 1-3 with an under the gun straddle to 6 and we have pocket 10s in the cutoff. We raise to 15 and only the straddle, a loose passive recreational player, calls. On the board of Queen 9-6 with 2 clubs, we could either check or bet. In this example, we bet a bit more than half pot and we get called. The turn is an offsuit 3. When villain checks, I think we have a clear check behind. It is getting increasingly more difficult to get called by a worse hand again, and almost impossible to get 3 streets of value with our hand. So we check. The river is another complete brick and our passive opponent checks once again. What would you do in this example? Well, most players would happily check behind. But let's think for a moment. How often do we think that we have the best hand in this spot? I would say almost always. If villain had a big hand, he might have check-raised the flop because the board was scary. Sure, he can have a queen when he calls, but once the draws break out, it seems likely that he would bet a queen on the river because he would worry that we check behind. And most players' actions are driven by greed when they have a good hand. And if he has a 9 or a hand like pocket 7s or 8s, he would call a bet on the river, especially because the flush missed, and so he might talk himself into thinking that we missed the flush. So we should definitely bet here. And this is the mysterious play I'm talking about. It is called thin value betting on the river.
But Andreas, what if we get check raised?
I hear you say. Well, we can worry about that if it happens. Don't stress about it now, because most likely it will never happen. We just established that it's unlikely that villain has a strong hand. And he is a passive recreational player. And passive recreational players rarely start check raising rivers as a bluff for what they perceive as a lot of money. So we bet just under half pot and villain quickly calls with a 9. It is precisely this last bet that makes or breaks your win rate at live low stakes. And this also works in 3-bet pots, like in this example. A loose player opens to 12 at a 1-2. A tight player and a very loose player both call. We squeeze with ace-king in position. We could have gone a bit bigger, but whatever. The original raiser and the very loose player call. This is a really nice spot. We have position, we have the initiative, and we have a premium hand. What's even better is that the flop is king 10-9 rainbow, giving us top pair, top kicker. We c-bet for a third pot and only the original raiser calls. Oh, and speaking of c-betting, I have just released my new ebook, C-Bet Mastery. You can get a free copy just by clicking on the link below. But back to the hand. After we c-bet the flop and we got called by the original raiser, the 8 of clubs on the turn brings a flush draw. We could continue betting for value, but I didn't think I could get 3 streets of value, so I checked behind with a plan to bet on a safe river. But the river doesn't look safe at all. It brings in the flush and the four-liner to a straight. So should we just check behind with our top pair? Not against a loose passive recreational player. If she had had a set, a straight, or two pair on the flop, she would probably have raised on such a wet board in a multi-way pot. Of course she could have hit a set on the turn or a river and got scared to bet it, but that's not a reason to check behind because it is still very unlikely. If she has a king or pocket jacks or even a hand like ace-10, there is a good chance that she will call a river bet. So we go for just over half pot, she tanks for a bit and calls with king-queen and we scoop a nice pot. The reason why most players won't bet thinly for value on the river is fear. But this fear is like being afraid of losing an arm wrestling contest with a baby. A baby does not have the muscle power to defeat an adult man. And a passive recreational player usually doesn't have the bluff check raise weapon in their arsenal. Almost definitely not when they would have to risk their entire stack. If you ever get check raised after making a thin value bet, you will not make a mistake if you always fold. Of course, you would be super exploitable, but again, a passive recreational player will not exploit you. If they raise, believe them. This spot is extremely underbluff at the low stakes. Sometimes you will fold the best hand because you will accidentally get bluffed though. I remember a hand where I made a thin value bet on the river with pocket aces on a scary board where a flush was possible. My opponent min raised me and I folded because I just couldn't see him bluff in that spot. And he didn't bluff at all, he proudly showed top pair top kicker in that hand. When someone asked him why he raised with top pair when I could have had a flush, he admitted that he hadn't seen that there was a flush possible. He thought he had a hand close to the nut. This will happen sometimes, but it is very rare and is more than offset by the times when you get paid off. And yes, there is of course a chance that this play will go wrong, that you will value own yourself, like in this example. We open ace-jack offsuit on the button over a limper, the small blind and the limper both call. We have top pair and make a fairly big c-bet and the small blind calls. On the turn we continue betting for value and we get called. The river is pretty much a brick. Can we get another street of value from a passive opponent? I think we can. He might fold a jack or a 5, but because the flush missed, he might talk himself into a call. But note that if we get called, we will not always win. And this is exactly what happened. I bet and he called with a river 2 pair. We lost a fairly big pot because we got unlucky on the river, but it was still the right play. If you never get called by a better hand when you bet for value, then you are not betting thinly enough and you leave money on the table. Thin value bets are only one way to exploit recreational players though. In this video here, you can find out what my other favorite exploit at live low stakes are.